Thank you for watching another episode of Devar Malchus Discourses by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. This week, Parshas Lecha from the 11th of Mar Cheshvan, 5752. We are on page 55 at the top. The Parsha of Lecha is a fundamental and essential Parsha. With the Parsha begins with the era of Avram, our forefather, the first Jew, beginning with the first command of Hashem to Avram. And Hashem said to Avram, "Go for your own good from your land and your birthplace and the house of your father to the land I will show you." And after this, the continuation of the Parsha about going and traveling of Avram in Eretz Yisrael, and the promise of Hashem that he will give him and his children Eretz Yisrael. To your children I will give this land, to you I will give it and your children forever. And the covenant with the severed animals on the day Hashem made a covenant with Avram, saying, "To your children I gave this land," including at the end of the Parsha, where it speaks about the command of the mitzvah of bris milah, circumcision, and the fulfillment of the mitzvah by Avraham Avinu, our forefather, through which there is a covenant between the Jewish people and Hashem. "This is my covenant between me and you and your children after you, my covenant in your flesh for an eternal covenant." Being that the matters in the Parsha Lech Lecha, go for your own good from your land, the promise of Hashem regarding Eretz Yisrael and the mitzvah of Milah are the first matters in the Torah and the service of Avraham Avinu, the first Jew, from which him descends all the Jewish nation. It is understood that they express the general content of the whole Torah and Judaism. It's known that with Avraham Avinu begins the era of 2,000 years Torah. Avram begins the preparation for the giving of the Torah to the degree of, moreover, from him began the initial step of the divine union of giving of the Torah, as it says in the writings of the Rizal, and especially this begin from the command of Hashem to Avraham Avinu, "Go for your own good from your land to the land I will show you," which therefore the Torah tells us no more than a few details about the action of Avraham before he came to Eretz Yisrael, and the main relating of his action begins with the command, "Go for your own good from your land," and regarding him coming to Eretz Yisrael, which then Avram was 75 years old, as explained at length in Hasidic discourses. We must understand every matter in Torah as an idiom of Aora, is an essential and eternal lesson in all times and in all places in the service of a Jew. What is the instruction for the Jewish people after the giving of the Torah from "Go for your own good from your own land"? A one-time event which was a preparation for the giving of the Torah. Seemingly what happened. It is not sufficient to answer that this is so, that we should know that the service of Abraham of "Go for your own good" is a preparation and empowerment for the service after the giving of the Torah, for this is not any practical lesson in the service of the Jews after the giving of the Torah. Furthermore, every year when we read a Parsha in the Torah, we need to live it in anew. Most certainly this is so from the fact that every day they should be anew in your eyes. Certainly in the special time in the year when we read the whole Parsha of the Torah among the community with the brachas before it and after it, since then the matters that are discussed in the Parsha repeat themselves similar to as they took place the first time. Moreover, there is also an addition in them with advanced vigor, greater strength based on the rule ascend in the matter of holiness. Based on this, it comes out that on Shabbos, the Parshas of Lecha every year repeats itself in the phenomenon of "Go for your own good," a preparation and beginning of the giving of the Torah, with an addition in the preparation and the comparison of the additions in the previous year. We need an explanation. What is the content of this? The preparation for the giving of the Torah. Now, when we are already after the giving of the Torah, not only after the preparation and beginning of the giving of the Torah, rather also the completion of the giving of the Torah. Furthermore, the phenomenon of the giving of the Torah is every single day. Who gives the Torah in present tense? And in the words of our sages, every day they should be in your eyes like new. Movement, moreover, new, and based on the above-mentioned command of the ascendant matters of holiness, it's understood that every day the new must be a higher level than was before, so after all the ascents in the phenomenon of giving the Torah every day, and in addition also in a special way, every year when we read about this in the Torah and the Parshas of Yitro and in the Parshas of V'Echzachan, and most certainly in the time to come, in the time of giving of the Torah, Shavuos, ascend after ascend for a truly vast amount of days, years, and generations. What is the content of go for your own good as a preparation for the giving of the Torah? We cannot say that the service of go for your good is a preparation for the giving of the Torah and only for one who is missing in his service and connects to the giving of the Torah, since the revelation and effect of the Ten Commandments at the giving of the Torah the first time and similarly is understood every single year is and was not dependent on the level of service of a Jew. The revelation of the giving of the Torah itself affected the whole world, the whole entire world. A bird did not chirp and a bird did not fly, etc. And most certainly every Jew, to the extent that upon each commandment their souls flew out of their bodies, which this shows that they reached the completeness of the service as souls in body, and therefore their souls flew out. And we may say that the point of the explanation of this, that this itself is the explanation, being that the giving of the Torah is every day and every year in a higher way to the degree of new, literally, in comparison to the giving of the Torah before this, and as emphasized especially in the phenomenon of go for your own good, the preparation for the giving of the Torah, that there must be a true going, namely incomparable to the prior state, as will be explained. Therefore, there must be on this day and this year a service of go for your own good as a preparation and preference for the giving of the Torah this day and this year, as emphasized also in the above mentioned words of our sages, that upon each commandment their souls flew out of their bodies, and after each commandment Hashem made fall and do that he is destined to in the future to resurrect the dead and revive them. And this is the dew of the Torah, the secrets of the Torah. After the souls flew out, the first commandment, because of the fact that they reached the completeness of the service as a soul and a body, as mentioned above, indeed through the dew of resurrection, Torah was given to the souls a new higher mission, and therefore he revived them as a soul and a body, and likewise after the second commandment, and so forth, level after level, and to add to that the returning to them, and specifically through the dew of resurrection, that he is destined in the future to resurrect the dead, and the level of the new Torah of the time to come, as we will explain. And we may say even deeper that the fact that also after the giving of the Torah there must be a service of go for your own good as a preparation for the giving of the Torah is not only because we need a preparation for a higher level of the giving of the Torah as explained above, rather also because go for your own good is important for the actual completeness of the giving of the Torah and in every level of it. And we must understand this by way of preference, a similar question regarding what is related in our parsha about the going and entering of Avram into Eretz Yisrael, the land that I will show you, and the promise and giving of Eretz Yisrael from Hashem to Avram his children. Being that the matter of our parsha of the going and entering of Avram into Eretz Yisrael and the giving of Eretz Yisrael to him and his children repeats itself with every year, and we read the parsha and the questions arise. After Hashem is in our parsha already gave Eretz Yisrael actually to the Jewish people, to your children I gave this land. I gave in the past tense, I already gave it, and it belongs to them. It is an inheritance it is an inheritance for you from our forefathers, to the extent that this is pertinent to the Jewish law, that Eretz Yisrael is owned already, even before the Jewish people conquered it, and especially according to the commentaries that say that through Avram fulfilling the command, arise and go to the land to its length and its width, an act of showing possession, and he acquired Eretz Yisrael for his children for all generations. And most certainly after the Jewish nation actually entered and conquered Eretz Yisrael, in the first conquering, the conquering of Yeshua, and after in the second conquering, the conquering of Ezra. And how is it now pertinent in actuality, the story in our parsha about how Avram leaving your land and going to the land I will show you, and Hashem gave him Eretz Yisrael. These are seemingly matters which took place then and do not repeat themselves again. The question is even stronger in the recent generation in exile. In the first generation of exile, we could have answered the content of go for your own good from your land to the land I will show you is pertinent to the spiritual service of make here Eretz Yisrael, transforming outside the Holy Land and making it into Eretz Yisrael. However, after the vast amount of service throughout the generations of exile, and in it make here Eretz Yisrael through Although we did not yet completely finish its service, so the proof is that Mashiach did not come yet. We, however, are much more past the beginning of the service of conquering outside the Holy Land and making from it Eretz Yisrael. Most certainly that we are precisely far past the beginning of it, that we need to leave your land and only begin to go into the service of make here Eretz Yisrael. And we may make the explanation of this. When Hashem gave Eretz Yisrael to Hashem, rather, when Hashem gave Eretz Yisrael to Avram at the Bris Ben HaBesarim, the covenant with the severed animals, to your children I have given this land. I already gave it actually. He gave it actually at the same covenant, all 10 lands, not only the 7 lands of the Shiti, rather also the 3 lands of the Kanini, Kaznizi, and Kadmani. Only that openly and actually he only gave them 7 nations, and 3 they are destined to inherit in the time of the come, in the days of the King Mashiach. However, Hashem gave it all at once, only that in the fulfillment of the matter, actually there are stages similar to how regarding the conquering of the 7 lands was not immediately in the time of Avram, rather after time, and not at once, rather in several stages. Even if we look at it, that the regard of these 3 lands was only a promise about the future, and at time he gave them in 7 nations, and 3 are destined to be inheritance for the time to come. It's understood that the inheritance of the 3 lands is important for the completeness of the conquering of the whole Eretz Yisrael. Also the 7 lands, they will be added to the completeness also in the 7 lands, and especially that the 7 lands are recognized majority of the 10. From this it's understood that since the present time, even in the time of Yeshua and in the time of the Beis HaMikdash and in the time of Ezra, we at the most only had the 7 lands and not all 3 lands, and not the 3 lands, the Kanini, Kaznizi, and Kadmani, as it is pertinent to Jewish law regarding the laws of the city of refuge, as the ruling of the Rambam, that there were 6 cities, 3 Moshe set aside on the other side of the Jordan, and 3 Yeshua set aside in the land of Canaan. And in the days of King Mashiach, they add 3 more to these 6. Where do they add them? In the cities of the Kanini, Kaznizi, and Kadmani. There is a deficiency in the completeness of acquiring Eretz Yisrael, even in the 7 lands. And similarly to how this is regarding Eretz Yisrael itself, similarly this is also regarding the Jewish people in Eretz Yisrael. Even after the conquering of the land, not only at all times was there a state of all those that should settle there were there, which is necessary for the fulfillment of the laws of the Jubilee year. Furthermore, even in all those that should settle there or there itself, there are levels, and it is obviously understood that even though regarding Jewish law, the laws of the Jubilee year, all those that should settle there or there means that all the Jewish people of the generation as it is in the time of Yeshua, etc., most of the time of the first Beis HaMikdash. However, in the time to come, when there will be all those that should settle there are there, in addition to there should be also the 10 tribes which were exiled to behind the river Sabatayon. Also the Jewish people of all the generations and all the completeness of are there, all 10 lands. There will be a matter of more completeness in all those should settle there are there, all literally. Based on this, it's understood how the phenomenon of our parsha, go for your own good, from your land, and the topic of acquiring the land through going to its length and its width, is pertinent actually also in the present time, since as long as we do not yet have actually the 3 lands of the Kanini, Kaznizi, and Kadmani, and together with this the ultimate completeness of all those that should settle there are there, the Jewish people of all the generations in the true and complete redemption were still in the middle of acquiring the land, since even the acquiring of the 7 lands was not yet truly complete at the time, and it is still necessary that there should be go for your own good from your land. The Jews from all the places and from all generations should go from outside the Holy Land to the land I will show you, and acquire Eretz Yisrael in its completeness, all 10 lands. And since I await him every day, and that he will come every day, I await he, Mashiach, will come today. Therefore, all the Jews in all generations yearn there to already go for your own good from your land to the land I will show you, and from acquiring all 10 lands. And to add this, it's important even more in the generation in our time, as spoken many times, that the Kenizis are over, and the Keats are over, and as my revered father-in-law, the Rebbe, leader of our generation, notified, we already did tshuva, and we already polished the buttons, and according to all signs, our generation is the last generation of exile, and automatically the first generation of redemption. And based on this, it's understood that in a timely manner to prepare, actually go for your own good from your land to the land I will show you, literally, immediately, that we acquire Eretz Yisrael in its completeness, all 10 lands, which is an eternal inheritance to the Jewish people, as an inheritance for our forefathers since the Bris Bein Bizarim, and the innovation that will receive the 3 lands in the pleasant and peaceful manner, since at the time in the days of Mashiach, there will not be war, rather the nations of the world will give this to the Jewish people on their own, from their own goodwill. Similarly, we may say that also the explanation regarding go for your own good as a preparation of the beginning of the giving of the Torah, that since the completeness of the giving of the Torah will be the true and complete redemption, when we will have the completeness of Eretz Yisrael and the 10 lands, as we will explain, when there will be the revealed new Torah insights which will come from me. Indeed, in a comparison to the completeness of the giving of the Torah of the time to come, which the Torah is studied by a person in the present time, is not in relation to the Torah insights of Mashiach, and most certainly in comparison to the new Torah insights which will come forth from me. We are now standing in the preparation for this, a preparation of go for your own good. Namely, the preparation of go for your own good is pertinent not only for the matter of giving of the Torah, which is presently every day in the higher way than the day before, as mentioned above, only also and mainly regarding the preparation of the receiving of the new Torah insights in the time to come, which is incomparable to all the sense of the giving of the Torah before this. The connection of the acquiring of the 10 lands with the giving of the Torah and the preparation for this, and go for your own good, as we will understand by way of preference the explanation of why go for your own good from your land in the beginning of the service, the preparation of the giving of the Torah. The innovation of the giving of the Torah was accomplished the uniting of the upper realms and the lower realms, which with the nullifying of the decree that the upper realms should not descend in the lower realms, and lower realms should not ascend in the upper realms, and thus the levels of godliness which are completely above the world should be drawn in lower realms, and the creations of below should unite with the upper realms, and through the fulfillment of the mitzvah with the physical object, and the physical object with becoming a holy item to the degree it will be a dwelling for him. Blessed be he in the lowest realms, a dwelling for him, for his essence, blessed be he. The phenomenon being with the command of the accomplishment of Avram, go for your own good for your land from your birthplace and from your house of your father to the land I will show you, and especially through the fulfillment of the mitzvah of circumcision, as we will explain soon. Also, before you go for your own good for your land, when Avram was 75 years old, Avram did his service in his land, his birthplace, and his house of his father on a high level. He recognized his maker, he served Hashem and publicized godliness in the world, and with self-sacrifice, as this was expressed also in the test of the furnace and the fire of Ur Kasdim, as the Rambam writes at length about the great virtue of the service of Avram, even before the commandment, go for your own good. Once this mighty one were weaned, he began to ponder with his mind until he reached the truth, and began to stand and call with a great voice to all the worlds, and let them know that there is only one God for the whole world, and he is the one to serve, and to add in the accurate wording, mighty one, that Avram stood with all his might against the whole world. Avram ha-Ivri, the whole world on one side, Aver, and he was on the opposite side, and was not intimidated by them, even though he was only Avram and not Avraham. Av Hamon Goyim, the father of many nations, as we will explain, to the degree in a manner that Avram influenced his place, that although that it was Haran, and an idiom of Haran, anger of the Hashem. He transferred it, and through the souls that he made in Haran, to the degree that it should be called in his name, as called in the Torah of truth, your land and your birthplace and your father's house, through him influencing his father and his father's house, as the verse says, and you will come in your ancestor in peace, teaching that Terach did tshuva. Nevertheless, we see that it is not related in the written Torah as all about the service of Avram until the Parshas of Lecha, and even when it's related in the end of the Parshas of Noach, it's written truly in short, his birth and a very few other details, since, as explained in several places, until his service was in a manner that him and the whole world around him remained two separate things, the upper realms and lower realms separate, spiritual and physical separate, and his service was in one of the two ways, either removed from the world, Avram, father, Apai, intellect that is beyond all comprehension, or in the matter that he did with the world. This was in a matter that the lower realms remain on their high level and not connected to the upper realms. Through Avram fulfilling the command of Hashem, go for your own good from your land and your birthplace, and the house of your father, the land I will show you, that he went away and out of all the limitations in his routinely service until then, including in the service of influence in the world, that it becomes your land, and even in the limited level of holiness, he nullified also his limitation, the separation and decree between the upper realms and lower realms, and he began the upper and the union of the upper realms and lower realms, through him doing Hashem's command and going away from your land and from your birthplace and from your house of your father and going to the land that I will show you. I will reveal yourself, your essence. It will be revealed in the land, the lowest realm, its true existence and essence, the upper realms. And this is the innovation of go for your own good from your land to the land that I will show you, that Avram did not suffice with his service during the 75 years. Until then, being a very high service, rather, according to the command of Hashem, he went away from his place and he was used to, etc., and went on his way. Then this was the innovative service in a manner of going. Go, which true going means advancing ahead incomparably. One goes completely away from his previous place and the state of even of holiness, going that it is above limits and in itself has the continuation of going and travels level after level. And Avram traveled, going and traveling, and in both directions, both from below to above and from the land of Haran, he ascended to the land that I will show you, Eretz Yisrael, and I will show you in its meaning, you yourself, as explained above, as well as above to below, that he began doing the service of uniting in upper realms and the physical and material worlds, lowest of which there is no lower than in it, as in much higher way incomparably that it was before this, as emphasized also in the after fulfillment of the mitzvah of Milah, in the change of the name from Avram to Avraham, for Av Hamon Goyim, a father of many nations I have made you. Before he was Avram, he was only a father for Aram, and now a father for the whole world, namely that for him there was a going in the service of the world, that he accomplished the refinement not only of his place, Aram, rather the whole world, in a manner that he becomes a father of many nations, the boss over them, even though he is one and they are many, even more than the strength of the mighty one, as Avram, as explained before. And one deepens on the other, being that it has an incomparable advance and accomplishment in the refinement of the very low, the whole world. Therefore, this also brought an advance to a very high. I will show you, I will reveal you yourself, and similarly, also on the other hand, specifically by the power of going very high, one can refine also the very low, to the degree that the lowest realms and the highest realm are united, as this was accomplished in the completeness at the giving of the Torah, which the Parshas of Lecha is in preparation for. And we say that this is also the explanation of the Parshas of Lecha and the third Parsha of the Torah, third within the trifold Torah itself, since the content of Lecha is in preparation and beginning of the giving of the Torah, which is connected to the third path, and the middle one, which connects the upper realm and the lower realm, and the Parshas of Bereshis, the first Parsha, as hinted to its name, as is in the beginning, is its content is about the creation of the world, which was created by Hashem, the upper realm, and the content of the Parshas of Noach, the second Parsha, as hinted in its beginning, Noach twice, is connected with the refinement of below through the service of Noach, the Tzaddik, and especially through the great flood and the lowest realms of Parshas Lecha, the third Parsha, in the content of the union of the upper realms, which the lowest realm is a preparation and beginning of the giving of the Torah. And the phenomenon